it's been hard for him to understand because they really don't understand because they're not moms. Like they're parents, but they're not moms, and it's a lot different. And postpartum depression, and even like any kind of depression or anxiety, if you've never faced like mental health struggles, it is really hard to understand. And it doesn't make you a bad person or not supportive. It's like anything in life, unless you go through it, you can't fully understand. We kind of talked about that toxic positivity because he's such an upbeat, positive guy. But sometimes it was like, okay, but like it's okay to have emotion too. Like you got to feel things, and like you really got to like talk emotions. You can't just always say like everything's good, and then your energy says completely different.
You're listening to Breaking the Ice, a podcast and community created for wives and girlfriends of professional hockey players, but since has turned into so much more. Stories shared by women around the globe who come together for a sense of connection and community. You may be in the sports industry, a hockey parent, an athlete, or a person who just enjoys podcasts, but I can promise you'll be inspired by these women every single day, while we evolve through the tips, tricks, do's, and don'ts for all things hockey. And guess what? So much more. For women, by women, but especially for a hockey community. So lace them up and tune in for a new episode every Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Happy Wednesday, you guys, or whatever day you are listening to this new episode on. I am leaving on Friday for Austria, so as you can imagine, I am extremely busy trying to A, pack my house up, and B, get all the errands done that I need to do. So safe to say, I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet today. Today on the podcast, I have Dakota Cameron joining me, and Dakota and I have talked over Instagram before I ever even made the podcast page. We've gone back and forth. Before we even had this interview, I felt like I already knew her, so it just felt very organic and natural. As you can see in the episode title, it's called The Invisible Load of Motherhood. But this episode is so much more than that. Sometimes I feel like if you are not a mom and you see that in the caption, that's something that maybe you will choose not to listen to. But there's actually a lot more that we discuss within this episode than just being a mom. But that was primarily the focus. We talked a lot about like what last year was like during the pandemic and how that kind of transpires into how we're feeling moving forward going into this next hockey season. We talk about when you have to leave your apartment and leaving all your luggage and what you do and how you figure out how to get to it once you go the next season. And we talk about the off season as well. Then we kind of move into our main topic of motherhood, and Dakota shares some of the experiences that she had after having her first baby girl, Cooper. We both talk about a little bit about postpartum depression and anxiety and what that looked like for each of us. And we also just share some of the unspoken raw truths of being a mom in this hockey lifestyle. Dakota also has her own small business called Loveco The Label. It's coming out soon. It used to be XO Loveco, but is now moving into a different direction. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow her on Instagram. And I hope you guys love this episode as much as I do. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. For those that have listened to episodes in the past, you know that BetterHelp has come up several times from some of my guests. Living the lifestyle that we do, it is so beyond important to talk about our feelings. And I think that it would be very valuable to have like a third party listening ear to offer advice and insight into our lifestyle and situations. I think something for me that has kind of delayed my start into getting into therapy is that half of the year I'm living in a different country. So the coolest part about BetterHelp is it's customized online therapy, and they offer video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't even have to see them on camera if you don't want to. And it's way more affordable than going to in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with someone in less than 48 hours. So I'm excited to try out BetterHelp this hockey season. I think that people can only benefit from going to therapy, and it probably can only improve the kind of experience you're going to have during the season. So if you're interested in signing up for BetterHelp, you can head to betterhelp.com/breaking the ice. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. We have honestly talked over Instagram for probably the last year, or I guess probably more than that, because I think we followed each other personally before I started the podcast page. But I'm excited to just get to know you and finally have a conversation in real life.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel like this has been such a long time coming. We've talked for quite a while about doing this. I'm so excited to finally get together and chat all the things.
I know. Do you have your coffee with you?
I don't. Already had one, and I'm like, if I have another one, my voice might start shaking. So I was like, it's probably best I don't have another, or people are gonna be like, is she okay?
Yeah, it's a 2-cup coffee day for me today, so no shame over here. So I wanted to start off and just ask you like how you're doing, how is your off season, what's going on for you guys?
Oh, so off season is going pretty good. I mean, it's a shorter summer, I think, for most people. So, it's always so hectic coming home and you're like cramming everything in. I just started back working, so I'm working part-time. So that's been like quite an adjustment having a toddler and now working. And
Mm-hmm.
then summers are always just full of like having visitors, which is amazing, but then it's just go, go, go. And like the extreme of like during the season, it's like very chill, especially during a pandemic. You're not doing anything. And then you come home, it's like, holy crap. So it's been pretty crazy, but it's been really good. We're just like happy to be home with family and have some help and support. And yeah, and we just finally signed on a team. So we're just like thrilled that we don't have to wait any longer.
Oh my gosh, is it a secret? Are you allowed to tell yet?
Um,
Well, actually, when this comes out, it'll be August.
Okay, perfect. So it's, I guess it won't be a secret. But yeah, we signed back in Kassel, Germany. So we were there this past season. We weren't sure if we were going to go back, and we left like all of our stuff, our whole apartment in like the same shape it's been all year. Like we just like left everything. We left all of our winter clothes, all of like our bugaboo stroller. Like we just left everything being like, we're coming back. And then the past month and a half, it's been like, I actually don't think we're going back.
Oh my
So
gosh.
thank God, because I was like, I'm not dealing with moving all that stuff with like a toddler.
Isn't that
So
kind of like really stressful at the end of the season when you don't know what you're doing with your stuff? You're like, do I get a storage unit? Do I leave it here? Do I leave it with a friend? And then it's like an extra stress because then you have to coordinate wherever you're going next season to make a special trip out. Like if you weren't going to the same place, like for us, we left some of our stuff in Graz. Luckily, we're like only 2 hours away, but we have to now drive a few hours to go pick our stuff up and then drive back.
I know that's what happened to us. We were in Switzerland before this past year, and we just like, I mean, with the pandemic, it's like, you got to get back to Canada. So we just like literally within 2 days, just like packed up everything and left like all of our stuff there at a friend's, like his apartment. And because Germany wasn't allowing any travel, we didn't go and get it until like January, I think.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
was a 7-hour drive. So my husband Brett, he like drove there 7 hours, drove back just to get our stuff. But like it was funny because of course the one time in Kassel it never snows there, and they got like a record amount of snow, and we had none of our winter stuff. So we're like, oh, this is great.
So what'd you do?
But
You had to
yeah,
just buy all new stuff?
well, we're like, it'll melt. So we just really pushed it off. We're like, if we buy stuff, it's probably just gonna melt, and then we're gonna have all this extra stuff. So we actually just stuck it out and we just dealt with what we had. But yeah, it's you just never know like what to do with everything. And like now with kids, it's like all their toys, and you don't always want to have to like rebuy. So we've definitely tried to like sell stuff if we know we're not going to go back. We try to like sell stuff on marketplace or whatever, just like get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you're not like constantly just spending the money on getting new stuff every year.
I love Facebook Marketplace because especially with kids, you don't want to buy everything brand new because it's so expensive. And I feel like they get bored and you need to like keep bringing in like an influx of things and then like getting rid of it. So fortunately we had that last year too. And it's just so nice, especially when you're overseas, because you don't really want to spend a ton of money because you can't even like bring, especially the big items, home with you.
And I find even with like clothes, like we this past year, like with all Cooper's clothes, it's just like you have so much stuff and then it makes so much more to bring home with their clothes that they grow out of. So my friend Amanda that was on the team with me, she actually showed me this website in Germany called Vinted. And it's like a used, you can like buy or sell used items. So like
Oh,
I just went on there and like sold like all of like Cooper's clothes that were in really good condition that I just didn't want to haul back with me. I think you can find stuff that's like very used or find stuff like I found a bunch of clothes that were like Zara brand new tags on for like half the price.
oh, that's amazing.
So it kind of like has a mix of everything. So we definitely did that so that we didn't have to haul like clothes that we like didn't need to save if we have another child or, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So when do you guys have to be back?
We actually don't know. I think
TBD.
it I think it's end of August. Like his contract starts September 1st. So we're assuming end of August.
Oh, that's so nice. That's a long summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we thought we were actually going to be going to Norway. So Brett would have had to go end of July. And we're like, no, like it's already July. And we're like, that's so crazy. Like to think only a couple more weeks. So it's nice to have that extended.
And you guys are in Kelowna, right?
We're just outside. So we're in Penticton. It's about like 45 minutes from Kelowna.
So what's it looking like there right now? Because I obviously everybody knows like how insane it's been just with the borders and stuff in Canada. And I mean, no one wears a mask here anymore, pretty much, especially in Idaho. But what's it looking like there?
Yeah. It's actually like I think as of Canada Day, so the 1st of July, they got rid of all masks in BC where I am. So it's so nice. Like everything seems really normal. And I live in a very like tourist town. Like everyone comes here to vacation in the summer. So even last summer during the pandemic, it was like tourism has never been better because now people, instead of going, say, to the US or over to Europe for their summer vacation, they came to the Okanagan.
Yeah.
So it's actually been really good. And it's nice to like come home and see that things are like, they feel pretty normal and our numbers have come down and everything. So it's been good. Like we've been able to kind of do everything as normal.
I feel like that is also what's making the summer feel shorter too, is just the regulations got lifted like halfway through. So it kind of feels like we're more recently free, I guess. So last year, obviously, that was just like a very challenging year for everybody. I know that we've kind of went back and forth and like connected about some stuff. What was your mental state like last year just during the pandemic?
Oh my God. I was a roller coaster. Like kind of going back to the summer. Last year was like one of the hardest years like Brett and I have had in like just like in our relationship, not so much our relationship, but just since we've been together, it was so challenging. Like COVID happened and then we're rushed home and no contract and then like so much unknown, which everyone was in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like carried a lot of stress. And I know for Brett, like being a new dad, he had that like pressure of like making sure like our family's taken care of. And so it was a really stressful time for him. And he was really stressed, which like doesn't help
Yep.
everybody else.
Yep.
He tried so hard to like pretend like he was fine and like you just know. So our summer was pretty hectic, like trying to figure out where we were going. And it was sort of like last minute. We signed in Kassel, finally got a team. So that was just a whirlwind. And then we got to Kassel and they didn't have our apartment ready. So we had all of our bags and like a baby and It was, and we were like, I think they moved us around like 5 different Airbnbs before we got our apartment.
Oh my gosh, I
So
remember you telling
get
me about this.
yeah, so getting over there, I was like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this to my child?" I had so much guilt, like, and she was so young. She was like 10, yeah, 10 months. Like, she doesn't know any different. Like, she's used to kind of traveling around and stuff. So, but I don't know, it was just really hard. And then we finally got our place. It was still under construction because they were renovating it, but we moved in. And I just found like after that, Germany closed down and like complete lockdown, like nothing open. I think it was the same in Austria,
Mhm.
but only grocery stores open. And so like after all that, like getting there and changing apartments, and then all of a sudden we settled down and like it's like, oh, this is awesome. We're in this new city, everything's open. And it's like, just kidding. Everything
Mhm.
closed down. And the first few months was really hard. Like just like going through like almost like feeling like I lost myself, then trying to find myself. Then I'm like wanting to change things with the business and not sure like if I was doing the right things, and staying home with a, how old she would have been, yeah, like 11, 12 months when it kind of started. And she was walking at 10 months. So she's just been nonstop. So I'm like, it was just, it wore on me so much. And like I know we chatted a lot like throughout the season and like went back and forth, and it just like, I don't know, it's like it's really hard to get out of those ruts. And it took a lot. It took a lot of like just like self-talk and just like really trying to accept that this is a global pandemic and this isn't normal life, and Cooper will be fine. She'll have her socializing after this, and like she's gonna be okay, and like we're all gonna be okay. But in the moment, you feel like you're like life is coming to an end, you know?
Oh, for sure. I can totally relate to that. Like everybody was going through it. So I'm so happy that we were all able to like talk about it and normalize
Yeah.
it, because not only were we like going through a pandemic, obviously the whole world was, but then it's like you throw in the challenges of being in like a different country on top of that. Like you're not near, you don't have help. And especially like when you have to stay inside, if you're used to living like near your family and friends and support system, and then you're like, let's move to a foreign country where I don't really have a ton of help. We first got to Graz. The team asked us if we would move apartments into like we like the way that the apartment set up was everybody was in the same apartment complex pretty much, except like a few other players, usually more of like the single guys. And they asked us for like, I don't know what the reasoning was. I think they were trying to bring a single guy in and then they wanted to move us into a bigger apartment, but just like not where everybody else is on the team. And they were like, yeah,
Oh,
will you guys move? And I was like, no way. Like I was super pregnant and I was like, I can't. I have to be near the girls. Like that's like the one thing I have going for me this year with this whole lockdown. Like we cannot move. Like I feel like it's some of you guys have like houses there. Or am I
yeah,
wrong?
we have an apartment.
But they seem so
Um,
big or like
it is
spacious.
big. It actually is really big. It's like 2 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, like a big dining area, a big living area. So like we have a lot of space, which we're so thankful for. And like there's other people on the team who have like top floor of houses or like bottom floor of houses. So like quite large spaces, which honestly, like if it wasn't for having like that space with our apartment, I just like don't know what I would have done. Like being
Mm-hmm.
cooped up inside all the time. Like you said, not having any family or friend, like anyone around to help. And I
Right.
know I touched on like the resentment thing, and I found myself really like Brett would come home from the rink and I just like my eyes were just daggering at him. I'm like, must be nice to just like leave the house and like socialize and do something you love. And, like there was a part where it was like really hard for me to like let that go.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it wasn't him and I knew it wasn't like, he wasn't doing anything wrong, but it's like what I would do to just like leave the house for 4 hours just to like hang out with like the girls and just like bullshit and like do something you love.
Yeah.
Like instead of just being like mom mode all the time. And as a mom, it's not the same as being a dad. Like you have a million things going on in your head all the time. Like it's like, when were they last changed? When were they last fed? What do they need? Why are they crying? Like it's just like a constant, like you're just constantly thinking. And
Yeah.
I know guys, they come home, they're like, oh baby, okay, change the diaper. Like,
As
so
you were saying that, I was like literally picturing, I don't know if you've seen this reel, but it's so funny. It's like mom's getting ready to leave the house and it's like
oh
grabbing in like
yeah.
things, changing the diaper, doing all this, doing that. And that's like dad's leaving the house. And it's like grab the keys, walk out. I'm like, oh, cool. I feel like it is becoming more talked about, like that those feelings are like normal. And like I for sure feel like there's also a pressure to be the one to always have to do things because like their job is very physical. So like obviously as we all know, like if we're depleted on rest and sleep, like I can't even imagine playing in that kind of game, in that kind of environment, like having the mental capacity to like even do that. And so when we're kind of over there and they're supporting the family, it's sometimes this like unspoken pressure that like you have to be the one to like do the naps and do the wake ups and do this or that. And I
Oh yeah.
think it's really normal for like kind of a resentment. And it's not like them as a person, but it's more just like resentment of the situation or like resentment of like, this sucks that this is all put on us.
Exactly. Yeah, because like even I found like the postpartum, like 4th trimester phase, it was like I told Brett, like, I want him, if it's like before game day, go sleep in the spare room. Like, no problem. And I didn't just say that to like try and be nice. Like, I actually like knew I have to be that breastfeeding. Like, there's no point you even like getting up to change like the diaper because I'm already up. I mean, us women were a lot quicker at changing diapers.
To pipe in, hearing them cry in the
Yeah.
night.
Oh, yes. You hear as a mom, you hear every sound. That's where I'm getting at. It's like the resentment starts at that point where even though like, they just need you and like that dad can't do a whole lot, it's still that like resentment builds. You're like, look at them and like they're sleeping and you're like, how the hell are you sleeping right now? Like you get so like mad and
Mm-hmm.
like they're not doing anything wrong, but you're like, must be nice to just be like soundly sleeping through all of this.
Exactly. Like,
So
what would you do if I was not here, like doing this? Like one
exactly.
of us has to get up.
Exactly. So I feel like definitely like I feel like it is becoming more like normalized to talk about those emotions and feelings and kind of what you go through postpartum because it is not easy. Like I don't know those people who like portray this like perfect life after having a baby and even pregnancy, like it is not easy. And there definitely are moments that are like amazing and like your heart is so full and it's the best thing ever. But then there's a lot of time where it is really hard. You just go through so much. Like I know for myself, I've dealt with anxiety and depression in the past, and my doctor told me I was at higher risk for postpartum depression, and I was really scared. Like I was like constantly talking to Brett, like these are the signs. Like if you notice any changes, like please, like be aware. And I definitely like looking back, like we talked about, like looking back, I think maybe because I compared it to like my previous experience with it, but I definitely did have postpartum depression, but it just like characterized itself differently than what I knew.
And what did that look like for you?
I was just so like I honestly could not sleep. So like I'm like constantly watching her, like breathing. I'm like making sure her chest is moving. So that's like constant anxiety over like, is she breathing? Is she alive? And then I remember the first game Brett had away and we were in Switzerland. So like road trips were like max 3.5 hours, like not far. And I remember like I had an amazing doctor. So he was actually the team doctor. He was an OB and a gynecologist. And I don't know how he was a team doctor, but anyways, he was one of the team doctors and he was amazing. So he delivered Coop and he told me like, if you need anything, please text me, please call me. So I know Brett's like first game away. I went into like full panic attack. Like my heart was racing. I literally thought I was having a heart attack. And I'm like, babies feed off you. So then like Cooper was like a really good baby, but she would get so worked up and then it makes you more worked up. And I remember like calling him and being like, I think I'm dying. Like I was just so scared. And like Brett's playing a game and he like definitely calmed me down. And I was like, thank God for him. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're in a foreign place. Like we were in a French community. No one speaks English. No idea even how I'd get to like a hospital or like anything like that. So I definitely experienced moments of that. And I always like, I don't know, I just like, it would just kind of come out of nowhere. And I know a lot of it had to do with like being so sleep deprived, but it
Yeah.
was like, it was a challenge. And I had like OCD. Like, I mean, before having Cooper, I had like, just like, I like things tidy and neat, not severe, but like, then having a baby and I was constantly like trying to clean and tidy and like make sure everything was done, like the laundry and I could not just like chill. Like I had zero chill.
Zero chill. A lot of the things you're saying I can resonate with. And I know I said this to you when we were talking last night, but I feel like in that time, it's kind of hard to recognize those symptoms as postpartum depression or anxiety. And I think it looks different for everybody, right? But during the time people, I mean, I think that's just moms asking like, how are you feeling? Like, do you feel like you have any like, postpartum depression or whatever, just like making conversation. I'm like, no, not really. Like, I think I'm fine. Looking back, I absolutely had it. And I absolutely had postpartum rage. Like, I remember like, it's like I'm trying so hard all day just to like keep my shit together, just like keep my composure, like just get through the day. And then I remember like if Charlie would be like in the kitchen, like cleaning or something and like would be making too much noise because we literally lived in a shoebox, I would like like freak out, which normally I will say I would not do that. But I mean, I would really turn like scary and be like, you need to be quiet. Like he's asleep. Like just because I was holding on to that like one little piece of sleep. I'm like, this is the only time I have to just sit here. And if you make one more noise, I'm going to lose control.
I remember we were talking at that time and I honestly like said to Brett and I like explained what you were going through and I was like, oh, my heart just like went out to you because I didn't deal with any of that with Cooper. Like I know breastfeeding had its challenges and there were definitely like challenges, but not like that. And I'm like, I told him, I was like, I literally would be in like a psych ward. Like there's no way I would have been able to handle it. And it's so funny because we always say like, I don't know if this is really funny, but we always say like the universe gives you what you can handle, and
Absolutely.
like those hard times, like in like babies, like certain babies, I'm like, oh, why is that person have such a chill baby? Or like, and then you like, and then I always like put together, I'm like, oh, well, that person, like maybe that person would be able to like, you don't know what their state is like, you don't know if they could handle something, but I truly think that like the universe gives you what you can handle.
Yeah, I
And like,
love that.
and it just makes you like obviously you're a strong person and it just makes you even stronger to be able to deal with all of that. And like if you decide to have another baby, it'll probably be a breeze.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I know that I'm a strong person, but I think like going through that, like that was the first time I was truly able to recognize like, wow, this has made me so much stronger as like a woman and a friend and a mom and just like now he's like the happiest like go lucky baby. And it was so hard at the time because I remember there were so many people that said to me like, isn't this stage just the best? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't feel that way. And I was like, why don't I? I mean, I knew I didn't feel that way, but it was hard because I felt like people couldn't totally relate when you struggle with a newborn phase because it's not like that.
I completely agree. And I feel like society puts so much pressure on because like you look at Instagram and everything, and it's like everyone makes pregnancy and like newborn life like looks so amazing and like glamorous and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely not the case. I mean, I'm sure it is for some people, but like you, like I found the newborn phase so hard. And like Cooper was a good baby. Like, I mean, she didn't sleep a lot, but she slept enough. She didn't really cry. Like, she was really good. But I just like pregnancy, I didn't love. I didn't
Mhm.
like I really struggled in my second trimester with like mental health. Like my mental health was not good. And I just like, I don't know, I just was really like unhappy. And then, yeah, I didn't really have like, I had like a healthy pregnancy, but I just really like didn't like it. It really got in my head. And then the newborn phase, like breastfeeding, I mean, she breastfed well, but like my letdown was too much. So she would choke. So I had to like lay with her to breastfeed. So I couldn't do it in public. I had to always be home to breastfeed her, like laying down. She wouldn't take a bottle. And it
Mm.
was just like you just feel like all you do is breastfeed them. Like, and like props to those people who like truly, truly like love that time and like love it, because I just wasn't one of those people. Like we bonded, but I still just didn't feel like, I just would rather not have done it, you know?
Mhm. It's just so different for everybody. And
It is.
like pregnancy, postpartum, breastfeeding, sleep. And so I think people like on Instagram, they portray I obviously the highlight reel, that's with anything, right? Like relationships, everything. But they kind of portray like how it is for them. And so we see like, oh, like pregnancy was really easy for this person, but maybe like postpartum was really hard or like the
Yeah.
opposite. And so like you never really know what it's going to be like until you're like actually going through it. And like you really can't prepare for it at all.
No, you can't. And that's what I tell like any of my friends or anyone that's like pregnant and like asks for advice. I'm like, honestly, like don't stress yourself out on like trying to read everything to prepare yourself, because nothing will
No.
fully prepare you. Like until you're in that moment with this baby, you just like have to go day by day and like figure out this little human on your own, you know? Like no book is going to tell you how to take care of this baby. Yeah, it'll like guide you in certain things, but there's nothing that will prepare you for that.
No, there, I mean, really, I mean, I kind of tried to not overindulge with like the reading in the books. I think even now, sometimes I'm like, oh, he's doing this. I'm going to look up what this means now because he's doing this. Like, I'm not really someone that's always like reading stuff in advance to try to like prepare because I'm like, I don't know what kind of kid he's going to be. I don't know, like, obviously, I have a general idea of just like milestones or like this or that,
Yeah.
but like, I'm not like, I'm kind of just like flying by the seat of my pants, honestly. And that's how I was with my pregnancy too. It's like I prepared just enough, but I didn't want to like over prepare because I figured I would be in for one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was too. I just like I knew like the more I read or look like things I looked at, the more it just like I was like, "Oh my god, like can I do this?"
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, and I feel like, I feel like the biggest thing for me was to just be really aware of like myself and like how I am day to day as a person around her and like how Brett is. And we really try to just like more focus on like how we are as people and like kind of just showing her like love and respect. And so she just grows up being like a kind, respectful human,
Oh,
that's
I
like
love
our
that.
biggest thing is like just making sure she just treats everyone the same and with love. And so that's kind of where we are like parenting wise, like we just really like try to focus on that stuff instead of like trying to read on like how to perfectly raise your child or what
Yeah, because
not.
reality check, there is
Yeah,
no perfect way to raise your child. Everyone is different.
no, no.
Feel like I could do a whole episode on social media because it's like I have a love hate with it. Like love
Oh,
because it connects you to so many people, but hate in certain ways. Like I love following these like accounts about mom stuff because I do think it's like becoming normalized, like the hardships and the struggles about it. But
yeah.
I also feel like some of those accounts are so oversaturated that like I get like sensory overload sometimes when I read them. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is too much. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And it's like those things where it says like, oh, they're crying and they're whining. Don't say like stop crying, but say this or don't say that or don't. It's like, well, it's like it becomes too much.
It definitely does. It definitely becomes way too much. And I found like I actually started following more like mom stuff on my business page and then not on my personal page, because on my
Mm.
personal page, like quite a bit more. And I find that like going back and forth, and I like go back to my business page, and then I see that stuff, and I kind of catch up on it a bit, and then I go back, and I so it's not so much for me because I get the same way, and then I get in my head and I'm like, okay, and then you get like overwhelmed. You're like, okay, like
Uh-huh.
what the hell do I do then? Like I'm clearly not doing anything right. You know, like if you just read everything that they say, but like who's they, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. What would you say was like the most helpful thing that someone could say to you during postpartum?
Well, I had like some friends. I don't actually, not a lot of my like closest friends have kids. Like only a couple of them. And then obviously like with the hockey community, like I have such good friends in like my hockey community. So I have friends that have kids there, but like at home, like my closest friends, no one really has kids except for one. But I would talk to her all the time. Literally, she was like my saving grace. Like I would text her like all hours of the day, being like, this is happening, what do I do? But I mean, sometimes it was good advice, sometimes it just like made me more anxious. But I think the best, honestly, for me is just for someone to like sit there and be like, it's fucking hard. I
Mhm.
don't know if I want to swear on here, but
You
like,
can swear.
but that's like, and for them to be like, you know what, it's so hard, but it will pass. And like you just like, it'll just be like little phases, and then you'll get through it, and it'll like make you grow and get stronger and be able to handle like the next challenge and the next challenge. And like just to sit there with you and just to like accept it and like know that it's really difficult, and not to be like, well, like give advice on like how to make it better, how to make it easier, because sometimes you just want to like sit there and be like, this is really really hard, and cry and like feel those emotions and not just like bury it. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really like advice, but
Just someone that just like listens and you feel safe to just be like, today effing sucked, like
yeah,
today was just hard. This happened. And just like sometimes just like literally word vomiting to someone makes you feel better.
exactly. And just like having those people, like you need those people around you when you have kids that like have had kids and get it, and that
Hmm.
you're like it's a safe place for you to talk and like vent and like like spill everything. You definitely
Yeah.
need that. Like it's so important to have a good support group. You don't want friends that are like like friends maybe that don't have kids and like really have no idea, and they're like, oh, you'll get through it, like be
Yeah.
positive stuff.
Stay
Like
strong. It's like, no.
it's like the last thing you want to hear. I just
Yes.
found myself like, because when I'd get down, like I'm an open book. So my emotions, like I'm open talking about them. Like if I'm really sad or if I'm mad, like Brett knows, like I'll just be like crying and be I can just talk about it, and that's just how I am. So I just feel, I don't even know where I'm going with this now. But
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like you just feel like you want to be able to feel like you can talk to people without people like kind of saying the toxic positivity, which we've also talked about, I know, on the side.
exactly, like, and that's I know Brett and I've gone through like phases where it's been hard for him to understand because they really don't understand, because they're not moms. Like they're parents, but they're not moms, and it's a lot different. And like postpartum depression, and even like any kind of depression or anxiety, if you've never faced like mental health struggles, it is really hard to understand, and it doesn't make you a bad person or not supportive. It's like anything in life, unless you go through it, you can't fully understand.
Mhm.
So I know Brett
Yeah.
and I, we kind of talked about that toxic positivity, because he's such an upbeat, positive guy. But sometimes it was like, okay, but like, like it's okay to have emotion too. Like you got to feel things, and like you really got to like talk emotions. You can't just always say like everything's good, and then your energy says completely different. Like it's not healthy to live like that.
I was listening to this podcast the other day that said a lot of people think that postpartum is like that first 3 months after you give birth. And then they said, like, no, postpartum is forever. You give birth, and then like moms are birthed too. Like it's like a new
Exactly. Yeah.
chapter and like it never ends. It's like your old life, you'll never get that back. And that can be like a scary, overwhelming feeling sometimes. Just going back to kind of like friends and stuff, it felt good when my friends without kids though would still check in, even though I
Yeah.
knew they couldn't relate and they didn't understand and they knew they couldn't relate and couldn't understand, but just being like, how's it going? The people that were there for me and checked in on me and showed up for me, that made me want to be a better friend. I think just like continuing to check in with those friends too, is I've just noticed that sometimes like people kind of stop checking in after that like 2-3 month mark where they think it's like, you got it all covered now. You've had your baby for 2 months. And it's like, no, I still don't know what I'm doing. And it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. But that's such a good point though, because I definitely have like my close friends that don't have kids definitely checked in on me. And like thank God for them because there like you said, there are friends that like definitely fade away when big changes happen in your life. Like I know it happened when Brett and I got like engaged and married and like other friends kind of drifted away because they like
Yep.
I don't know, like just you just go different ways. And that's just life and that's normal. It happens, but it also happens when you have kids too. But I definitely had my friends, some of my friends definitely were always checking in and like always like, how's Cooper? What's new? How are things? And like, especially with our lifestyle, like being gone so long, you need that. You need like, or else you come home, you have no friends left, you know?
Oh yeah. 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 I think like it can bring you back together with people though, too. Like if you, I don't know, like there's just been some like old friends that like we kind of not just like not necessarily grew apart, but you just kind of like stop talking for a while. And then it's like you find out like you're pregnant at the same time or like that you're both new moms and it like almost reconnects you, which I love.
I know it's so crazy how that happens. Like people that like have been out of your life for a while, even like people like you went to high school with or whatever, and then all of a sudden you both have kids, and then you kind of like reconnect. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really cool like how life works that way. No, I think it's so important to have a good community around you because being a mom is freaking hard, and like you need that support system.
Obviously we're both going back overseas and I've shared on Instagram that I personally feel anxious about it just because of how everything was last year, just the unknowns, like will we go into lockdown again? Will they shut the borders again? And it gives me like anxiety going back into a small space. So like what are your feelings like? Because I know a lot of people are feeling the same way about just like excited to go back, but also really scared.
My whole thought process on like the expat hockey life has changed so much since having Cooper. Like before it was like you so exciting and like you get to like be home for like the best part, which is summer. And then you leave and you get to like explore new cities. It's so fun. You get to travel and meet new people. And then like throwing a kid into the mix, it like definitely adds way more to it. Like it's way harder. So I find that I get more and more like anxious going just like the past couple years since I've had Cooper because it's like, oh, I'm taking her from her family and like Brett's parents have lived with us this summer for to help us with childcare. And honestly, like bless their hearts because like we don't know what we would have done without them. And now I'm like scared to go and not have that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I made it through last year without any help, but now it's like, okay, like, can I do it? Can I do it again? I mean, she'll be in daycare, like part time, I think, so that will help. But I'm definitely just like have like uneasy like feelings about it. Not so much anxiety yet, but like definitely like uneasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know some of the girls going back to where you're at?
Yeah, honestly, I became really good friends with. I'm sure you've talked to Amanda Kuhn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we became really close, and she has two kids older than Cooper. So that was like thankful. Like I'm so thankful for her. And then my friend Shayna was also on the team last year.
Oh,
So
that's right. Yeah.
thank God they were there. Like I really don't think I would have come home for sure. There's no way I
Mm-hmm.
would have survived, but they'll both be there. So um that's like that was like the biggest thing about going back is just like having those friends around because it means so much more now when like when you have kids and then they like other friends on the team have kids. it helps so much.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to like continue that relationship too, because a lot of the hockey friendships or just like relationships are just short-lived because we're, then we move and we stay in touch. But it's nice when you're somewhere with a friend that you became close with for longer than 2 seasons, because then it kind of forms like even more of a deeper bond, and it makes you feel a little bit more confident going back over there because you know that you have a little support system built in where you're going.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's so nice going back to something that's familiar and like having those people around. Like for you, you're going to Vienna, right?
Yeah, I'm going to Vienna, but I've connected with like a few girls just through the podcast that are also going there. And so that
Oh,
gives me comfort. There's like 3 North Americans signed that are going over there so far. So that's really nice. And 2 of them have young children as well.
oh, good. That'll be so nice to have.
Yeah, for sure. Cause I mean, it is scary. Like, I don't know. It's weird because I'm so excited. Like, I'm really excited to go to Vienna. I think it'll be a really fun place to make memories. But I also am just like, gosh, here we go again. Like another stressful travel day and like getting settled in and like, but I'm flying out later than Charlie. So hopefully, I can help motivate him to get everything set up so that when I get there,
Yeah.
it's like less overwhelming for me.
Yeah, that'll be so I feel like them, I know Brett's going over before me too. And I feel like it's always nice when they go and kind of like get everything figured out. So you don't have to deal with like yourself and all your stuff and like your kids and all of that at once. Thank God we're going back to the same apartment because like poor Brett, like he's so good about it. But I'm like one of those people when we get a like new place, new apartment, I have to make it homey. Like I can't just like use whatever they give us and just sit in it, Like I have to like buy a little decor and sometimes we'll buy different furniture and I have to make it homey because it's just like such a mental thing for me. It's like if it feels like home, then it's like so much easier to spend that much time there, especially like being the wife or girlfriend, and if you're not working or like not going to work and you're at home all the time, you want it to be comfortable. So
Well, we all spend
I'm
so
like,
much time in there.
exactly. So I'm like, thank God we're not moving again because Brett's probably gonna be like, hey, seriously, the amount of stuff we buy and have to leave every single time. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he's such a trooper with that. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's like good advice. And that's something that I am making a priority this year because I think I've always like wanted to, but then like, Charlie would be like, well, we're only here for 8 months. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a long time. And I spend so much time here and I want to feel happy because I feel like your home is your sanctuary. And since we're spending like so much time in there, I'm like, I want to be able to like look at nice things on the wall and not feel like I'm in like a white walled sane asylum.
But Brett's the same as Charlie. Like he's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're only here like this amount of time. I'm like, you know what? But it doesn't matter. And then I'll do it anyways. And then he'll be like, oh, I'm so glad you did this.
Yeah.
So, like when we were in Switzerland, we bought like this couch off of a friend that was from Switzerland that was on the team, and then they were going to a different team. So we bought their couch off them, and it was like, yeah, it was not a bad price because they had used it, but it was still like a lot of money to just buy a couch that you literally sit in for a year and then you leave it. So you
Yeah.
leave it for everyone else to enjoy. But once we bought it, Brett's like, oh, thank God. Cause like we spent so much time like with Coop as a newborn. So like we were on that couch all the time. And it definitely makes a difference, I find. And we also like if we have the time after the season, we also like just will try and resell it.
Yeah.
Whatever we just like resell, like if it's big furniture items, you just like IKEA table or something, we always just try and sell it. So you're not out so much money every year, but
I don't know what is wrong with us that we attract the worst couch on the entire team every year. Every single year, we get the worst couch. Like every team we've been on, it's so bad. And it's
so funny. You spend so much time on those couches.
so much time. And I literally complain all season. I'm like, this happened couch. Couch is the worst. Why does this always happen to us? So if we get a bad couch this year, I'm going to be scanning Marketplace and just pretty much go buy it without even telling him and just show up with it.
And what you can do is you can go to like I don't know what they're called in Austria, but like a home hardware, or
Like
like
a TJ Maxx or something.
yeah, or like I don't know what they call them in the States. Like we have like Canadian Tire and Home Hardware, and they're like home building stores. So
Oh,
you can go there and you can actually rent couch cleaners or like carpet cleaners. So that's what we did moving into our place this year, because our couch was really like musky smelling. And Amanda actually gave us the suggestion if like just you rent a cleaner. So like even if you buy one on Marketplace, you can just rent a cleaner and just clean the couch.
yeah, that's smart.
You
That's
don't
very
have to like
smart.
feel like creeped out by like even like in apartments if they're not like new and like the furniture's been used, like to just have it cleaned is a good feeling.
Yeah, I'm like, what have I been doing all these years? Why haven't I thought of this?
I
I
know.
need to do that. That's yeah, there because if you think about it, there's no way the teams are cleaning those couches.
No, hell no.
Like who knows what you're sitting on?
Exactly. Like when you really think about it, it's really gross.
Like 2 seasons ago in Graz, they gave us like a small futon leather couch, which was hilarious because like I swear we could barely fit on it, just the two of us. But I come to find out at the end of the season that that used to be in the locker room. So I'm like, how many naked butts have sat on this couch and we've never cleaned it? That is absolutely disgusting.
Oh my gosh, as if they'd actually do that though. Like as if they'd actually take from the locker room and put into an apartment.
I know. As I feel like most people know in this community, you have your own business, a children's boutique. It is so freaking cute. Will you just tell everybody a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's called Love Co. And we're actually in the middle of rebranding. So huge changes coming. Prior to rebranding, it was a children's clothing and accessory boutique. I would source the clothes from different suppliers. And while we were overseas, I actually used drop shipping. So it actually shipped from suppliers to the customer, which made it like really easy not holding on to stock when you're traveling around so much. But there were many challenges with it. And it just like wasn't resonating with me. Like I just knew while I was doing it, I was like, something needs to change. So I've been working really hard actually. My friend Shayna Rakowski, who's on the team with me, she's now my business partner. So she's been helping with the rebranding and she will be part owner. And we are creating loungewear for littles. So I've designed all of the styles and worked with a fashion designer. And now we are currently in production in Turkey. So
Oh
super
my
exciting.
gosh.
Yeah, you're the first person to hear about it.
Yay. Well, I'm honored. Are you guys changing the name or are you keeping it the same?
So we're changing it. It will be Love Co. the label. So
That's
it'll
so cute.
yeah, so it'll be our label. We've designed everything. It'll be all of the clothing will be organic, so everything will be ethical, sustainable. Some of the accessories, they will not be organic, but they will be sustainable, and everything will be ethically made. So we just worked really hard to find the right factory that we knew the working conditions were really good, and that all of the fabrics and everything were really good quality. So it took us quite a few months to nail down the factory, and we really really wanted to keep it like within Europe, because they always say like, I mean, we tried to do it in Canada, like finding a factory in Canada to keep it like made locally, but to us Europe is like local, like we're
Yeah.
there more than we are in Canada. So to us it like really meant a lot to like find somewhere in Europe that we could actually have it made and not have to go out to any of the Asian countries or the US, just because it's a bit more challenging for us in Canada. So really exciting things to come. We're hoping to launch by October, but you never know with shipping and everything right now. You just don't know what's going to happen. So we
Yeah.
haven't set a date, but we will be coming out with a lot more information in the next like month or so on the Instagram page. So
Yay. Well, congratulations. And so where will people be able to find that?
if you go to our Instagram at XOLoveCo, we'll be starting soon. We'll be updating and just letting everyone know what's going on, kind of giving some sneak peeks of the designs and the colors and everything. So you can find us on there right now. Currently, the website's under construction. So
Perfect. So stay tuned. And then what's your personal Instagram if anyone wants to reach out?
it's Dakota Cams. So DakotaCamz.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It was so fun connecting with you finally. And obviously, we will continue to chat over Instagram.
I'm so happy to finally connect with you. Like, it feels like I've known you forever. So I'm just so happy we actually got to like sit down and like chat, not via messaging on Instagram.
I
So
know.
it was so fun. And I'm so proud of you with everything you've been doing with breaking the ice, and just keep killing it.